Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 372 for November 26th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Laval Red and Gold are your 2024 Vanier Cup champions. Two of the oldest college football rivalries were played at the FCS level, and the first CFL offseason move goes to the BC Lions for trading away quarterback Vernon Adams. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Hello, everybody. What a wonderful Michigan day here we have. It's 30-something degrees.
But it's
no
bright
snow.
and sunny.
It's bright and sunny, though.
Looks beautiful out the window.
And Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Thanksgiving is right around the corner.
A lot to be thankful for as we roll into some Thanksgiving weekend football, which I'm very excited about.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend. I keep forgetting that they got a game on Friday now.
Oh, yeah, Black Friday game.
Geez, yeah, so
that should be something. And you're coming over to the house.
Yep.
We're hosting you for our first Thanksgiving. So
Yep.
It's exciting stuff. We got a lot going on.
A lot less work for your mom, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You'll find over 475 videos on our YouTube channel, including Just Lying Around, the Lions versus Colts preview and recap. The preview was done by Kyle, and the recap was done by you and Kyle.
Yep.
Our weekly NFL picks video for Week 12 was up last week, and we have a couple of upcoming videos, a Grey Cup travelogue that
hasn't technically been started yet. It's been a busy weekend for me.
It's coming, though. It's coming. Let's see, our weekly NFL picks, which we're going to record tonight with your brother Aaron for Week 13, and Just Lying Around, the Lions versus Bears preview and recap.
Yep. Kyle should get a preview up probably Wednesday, and then obviously we're going to wait till Friday. We already said to do the recap, so then we'll get like a week, kind of a week break.
You got to work this weekend?
It's like a mini bye week.
You got to work this weekend?
They said yes, but we'll see if they actually follow through.
Yeah,
so
it'd be
we'll
nice if you could get a couple of days off to do all these videos.
I was like, on top of the few days I already had for our Grey Cup trip.
Well, that was a business trip.
Yeah, okay. Let's look at some receipts and tell us how much we actually saved on that trip then.
Oh, we didn't save nothing. We spent a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we're going to start off this week in the Great White North for the last time this year. And we have the final Canadian college football game of the season. That would be the 59th Vanier Cup National Championship game. This was played last Saturday, and it saw the Laval Red and Gold over the Winifred Laurier Golden Hawks by the score of 22-17. This is the 12th Vanier Cup for Laval. They are really something up there. If they get into a championship game, it's pretty certain that they're going to come away with a win. Laval kicker Felipe Forteza, I guess that's how you pronounce that, made 6 field goals and accounted for 18 out of the 22 points in the game, which is a new Vanier Cup record, and he was named the game's MVP, of course. Laval is now 12-2 in Vanier Cups, while Laurier is now 2-4 all-time in the college championship game. Laval scored 6 field goals and then 2 safeties.
Dang.
So no touchdowns for Laval, and they still won. That's pretty unusual. A couple of safeties and 6 field goals.
No rouges. I'm a little shocked.
No
by
rouges.
That.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you need a rouge to really cap off a Vanier.
Is it really a championship game without a rouge?
I know. I mean, that should be one on the bingo card, right? Or do they have something different up in Canada? If it's not a bingo card, what is it?
I don't know.
But I mean, hey, good for the Laval Red and Gold. I feel like we talk about them every year.
Yep.
We don't. obviously go as in depth or know as much about U Sports and all that as we do like the CFL.
Yep.
So I like that we highlighted it a little bit, and we always debate when we put these scripts together with the Vanier Cup, like, do we put it first? Like originally you had the NFL stuff first, but I was like, it's a championship game. I think we always got to start with a championship game.
If it's a championship game, we should be talking about it first.
So we wanted to give them their love, and so the 59th Vanier Cup. But it does stick to also that, remember when it used to be the Vanier Cup and Grey Cup around the same weekend?
Yes.
And now I mean, the Grey Cup makes sense. They're just playing it a little sooner for, getting games in before the snow and all that crap. So
yeah,
it stinks that they can't push the Vanier Cup back to get back in the same weekend, but it is what it is. Yeah. Give it its own weekend, I guess. Don't lump it in with the Grey Cup because I feel like it just gets lost in the shuffle down here.
A few years ago, they were both in Hamilton at the same time. The Vanier Cup was played on Saturday, and then the Grey Cup was on Sunday. So people there got to celebrate both. You had college fans coming in, you had Grey Cup fans coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's just the way it goes.
It's unfortunate because I mean, I'm not sitting here as an American trying to tell Canada how to do their stuff because I feel like they do pretty good up there with their CFL.
Yep.
But I mean, if you could maximize your weekend like that, like if you could just, in some point in the future, get the Vanier Cup, the Grey Cup back on the same weekend, maybe even take it to the same city, and you just make it like a double head, like 2 days in a row, and you just make it like the Grey Cup Fest and the Vanier Cup Fest just merge into one big Canada Love Fest football. Just, could you believe it? I mean, we had so much fun at that Grey Cup Festival now.
Oh, yeah.
That I can imagine how awesome it would be to have the CFL fans and then all the U Sports fans just, bam, that would do some good for some of these cities. And maybe you could start taking the Grey Cup to cities that aren't, CFL team cities. I'm sure there's some other teams where they got these colleges or whatever. Might be a tougher sell. I'm just throwing stuff out there, throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing if it sticks. But I don't know. I just feel like, especially down here in the States, where you might get some CFL coverage. Like we saw the Grey Cup mentioned on Monday Night Football just because, what's his name? Chris Berman always has to mention the CFL, which, thank goodness for him. He's doing... he's doing the Canadian Lord's work and bringing that down here to the States for all the us Americans that don't pay attention to the CFL down here, which is a shame because the CFL is a great product. And more exposure for U Sports down here would be interesting because I from everything I hear from Canadian people or football fans, is not a lot of people really talk about U Sports. It's not the same level of intensity as college football down here in the States. So I just find that interesting.
I think they only have 26 college teams in Canada, whereas down here
I think
got
all
over
more
700.
Just amp up and really try to market and sell this U Sports league. You only got 26 teams we got to worry about. Oh, that's cool. Instead of what do we got, like 897 college teams down here in the States we got to worry about. And Randy rattles off about half of those every week on the show. So I mean, shoot.
I did hear that we know that the CFL Grey Cup is going to be in Winnipeg next year, and I did read that the Vanier Cup is going to be in Regina, Saskatchewan next year. So different cities,
rival cities,
probably a week apart. But yeah, with the end of the Vanier Cup this year, that's it for football in Canada this season.
Or
college
maybe,
and CFL,
or maybe it could be like the one leading into the other. Like if the Grey Cup leads into the Vanier Cup, and make some sort of festival around that, or some sort of, I don't know what you have to do. I'm thinking out loud here. I just feel bad that the Vanier Cup is kind of not second fiddle, but it's like eighth fiddle, like in the football world. Like the Vanier Cup is just such a cool thing, and we talk about it every year. But if I turn on any sports or looked up anything on Twitter, I probably wouldn't even find anything unless I was really, really looking for it. So
that's why when the fall comes around, I start bookmarking all the websites I'm going to need. I've got the U Sports U Sports website, and got the CFL site and FBS and NAIA. So I've got all these links right at hand, so I can go right from one to the other. But I thought it was pretty cool when they had them both at the same time. But when we heard the commissioner talking, somebody asked that question. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon.
At least not from the CFL side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, for the CFL, they got to do what they got to do.
Right.
But I feel like for the Vanier Cup's sake, I think they got to figure out how to, I don't know, not ride on the coattails of the Grey Cup. But you got to find a way to get these two games kind of in the same space.
Sure.
Like not necessarily the same city, but that same weekend,
See the future stars of the CFL while they're still in college.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. See,
Yeah.
Randy can sometimes say stuff that actually makes sense.
All right. We're gonna move back to the U.S. and talk about a little old football league you may have heard of called the NFL, and we're going to talk about scores from Week 12.
Yeah, I don't know how much you watched this weekend, but there's some
Not a
very
whole
interesting
lot.
stuff. Yeah, you keep saying that, but I mean, I'm surprised because this week started off with a game I won't say I was writing off, but a game that I was like, oh, this could be good. We'll see what happens. I feel like the Steelers got it. No, the Steelers didn't have it as the Browns defeated the Steelers 24-19, and a game a lot of people were loving because of the weather.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched any of that game.
I saw highlights after.
But I was watching a little bit of that game, and it was clear as day. You could see there were some flurries, but like on the camera, you can't tell.
Right.
That high def is just, I don't know, it's just making all the snow invisible. But then in a 2-minute span, like 1 minute I'm watching, it's green turf or green grass. It's all nice. And all of a sudden, it looks like you got static on the TV because the snow's falling really hard. You got, guys in their beer bellies. Like I think at one point a guy shoveled snow out from under his boob and
man boob.
his man boob and his beer gut. And it was awesome. Like eventually it looked awesome. The snow, it was crazy. And Jameis Winston, I won't say he put on a clinic, but he was just a fun watch. And then he was a fun interview before and after the game. So I don't know if you heard any of those sound bites, but I'm not saying Cleveland's going anywhere. I mean, they're 3 and whatever at this point.
They're not.
But I mean, this is what happens with divisional games. Take note, Detroit. You cannot sleep on a division team.
Yeah.
But the Browns came to play in crappy weather, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So
Yeah, they were talking on one or two of the sports talk shows about how Pittsburgh, they don't do real well on Thursday night football because they have a routine of how they practice and how they prepare for a game. And coming to a Thursday night, they're just like, you know what, we're just going to go out there and play, and I don't even care if we win or not. It's not that big of a deal.
That doesn't sound good. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm sure every
they
team
made a good argument. Some of these prognosticators.
sounds like a lot of excuses to me why you.
No, this was before. This was before the game
wow.
was even played. They were saying that Pittsburgh is not a good Thursday night team, and even on Thanksgiving, look how they beat Detroit that one year.
That was we're talking about the '90s. That's so long ago. It's totally different now.
That may come back to haunt us on this show. So
No.
just keep on going.
Oh, what are you talking about? But
I know you don't. You never read the script.
I never read the script. But so that was Thursday night. And then so here we go, the Sunday slate of games. The Kansas City Chiefs escaped the Carolina Panthers 30-27. Who'd have thought that?
Yeah, they almost lost that game.
The
That's
Chiefs had they
incredible.
went down and scored a last-second field goal to
Yep.
win that one.
Yep.
So, boy, Chiefs, what are you doing? I mean, a win's a win, I guess, right? So they're still 10-1. The Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Chicago Bears in overtime, 30-27. The Bears had a great comeback there at the end of the first.
Yes, they did.
Of regulation.
I saw some of that.
And I was watching, so I literally was watching the last 3 minutes of that game, and I saw the Bears turn an 11-point deficit into a tie, took it to overtime, then they couldn't do anything, and the Vikings just went down and scored.
Yep.
So we got the Bears this week. That's mainly why I was watching this one after the Lions game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know what to make of this Bears team. They look good in flashes, but then they crumble. They give me vibes of the same old Lions. I watching that game, they imploded like a Detroit Lions team we have watched in the past. Oh, well, here we go. Lions are down by 11. Then they get your hopes up. Oh, we got the onside kick. The first onside kick actually recovered in the NFL this season?
Yeah.
Wow. Then they go down. Caleb Williams throws a dart, gets him into field goal range. You're like, oh, my gosh, we might do it. And then you're like, well, maybe they're going to block the kick and ruin our hope. Nope, they make it. Whoa, we're going to overtime. This feels great. And what they do, they won the coin toss. They get the coin toss. The Bears get the ball first. And what do? Nothing. Caleb Williams on second down takes one of the worst sacks you could take possibly, taking him out of any sort of real ability to convert a third down. It was third and forever. So then they punted it away to the Vikings. The Vikings just marched down the field and put the Bears out of their misery to end the game. It was literally the most Lions things I've watched by a team that wasn't the Lions.
Yeah.
The old Lions. We can't even say that anymore.
Right.
The Lions are
the
very
old
different.
Lions.
But
the pre-Dan Campbell
Lions. So I feel for you, Bears fans, but I'm kind of glad that our futility has rubbed off on you. Even though you've kind of had your own futility you've been dealing with the last few years.
we had nothing to do with their futility. That's all on them.
But speaking of Dan Campbell and our beloved Detroit Lions, the Lions defeated the Colts 24-6 in what was essentially a road home game yet again.
Yeah.
As Lions fans, you heard them all throughout the game chanting Jared Goff, go Lions, all that crap. But Kyle and I would do our show, so I try not to talk too much about the Lions, even though that's hard for you and me when we get together. But we didn't even text during the game, really, because Kyle couldn't watch it, so our group text was very silent.
Yeah.
But what do you think of this game, and how on edge were you during this one?
I was not on edge at all.
No?
They had a really good first drive, and they looked really good. And I thought, well, they're doing some good things, but basically the only
them being the Colts.
The Colts, the only good thing the Colts were doing was when their quarterback ran the ball. Other than that, they threw a few passes. The running backs were just so-so. But as the game went along, you could see that all they had was quarterback runs. That's the only thing they were gonna do. And one little note from this game is that the Lions have now outscored their opponents 53-0 in the second half of their last 3 games. So 3 second-half shutouts in a row for Detroit.
And they have not allowed a touchdown since the first half of that Texans game. So they've gone essentially 2.5 games without even letting the other team into the end zone. They've been holding them to field goals. And this is a Detroit defense that's been kind of banged up.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they look on Thursday. Kyle will probably give you the injury report on his previous show. But no, that first drive, I thought the Colts looked pretty good. They just couldn't get in the end zone. They definitely had a couple drops that they probably should have had. One which definitely should have been a touchdown, and the guy just dropped it. But Richardson, and I actually, so a new habit I've kind of developed is after Lions win, I've listened to another team's podcast. So I listened to a Colts podcast this week just to hear their perspective on the same game. And, what was it? Richardson was 11 of 26 or something like that. So it was under 50% passing. And they made a good point that a lot of his passes were the smart throwaway, the stuff that you really don't look at on a stat sheet as when Goff had the interception at the end of the first half against the Texans, technically it counts on the stat sheet, but it was it was a nothing burger interception. So it really didn't amount to points or anything, so it doesn't matter. So that's how a lot of they were saying his incompletions were. And Richardson is just so hot and cold. He was very, when he was throwing some of those deep passes, they were accurate and they were on the money. It's just his receivers, for whatever reason, didn't get a handle on it, I think. But, because, they got away with, or the Lions defense got lucky with the drops and then that one on the sideline that was for 40 yards that the guy stepped out of bounds. So it could have been I won't say a different ball game, but it definitely would have, the score wouldn't have been the 18 points that the Lions won by. But, the Lions did what they had to do. Yeah. Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown pass. And that, people would be like, oh, how can he be an MVP? I'm not saying he deserves or needs to win the MVP. No, I really don't care at the end of the day. It'd be cool. But so people are like, well, Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown pass for the first time since week 2. What's he doing? Well, he relied on his running backs. The Lions didn't have to rely on slinging the ball down there. They got to the, red zone, and what'd they do? They ran all over the Colts. They were like, why bother risking an interception when we can just hand it off to Sonic and Knuckles? Which, by the way, CBS released a great commercial today featuring Sonic and Knuckles.
You sent that to me, and I reposted it on our Twitter.
Great. I've been waiting for some promotion like that, and it just makes sense because Paramount and CBS, where the Lions are playing on Thanksgiving, own the film rights to Sonic and Knuckles and all that. So that was fun. But... so the Lions, relied on the running game for the most part in this game, and Jared Goff didn't really have to do much.
No.
He still had to make some passes. Amon-Ra had 5 catches. Jameson Williams had a few. I think they said he threw it to 7 different receivers. Yeah. So, say what you will. And the debate is going to be up there. Is Detroit still the best team in the league? I'd say probably. It's hard to tell with some of the injuries right now.
We did sustain a lot of injuries in that game.
And while they've still been playing pretty good on defense, it's been next man up.
Right.
But we'll see. It's still.
But I just hope our depth is good enough. If some of these guys don't come back for a game or two, hopefully after this game, we've got a week and a half after the Thanksgiving game.
No, we got a week because they play the next Thursday.
Oh, that's right. They play the following Thursday night on Thursday.
So the Lions will have a week. Yeah, so it'll be weird.
That is
so it's
weird.
it's not like that traditional like second kind of bye week that you would get after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, but then it's after that Thursday game, then it'll be like a semi bye week. So it's gonna be weird. Yeah. It'll be weird, but. So that's it for the Lions, I think, unless you got anything else.
The Lions have now won 10 games in consecutive seasons for the first time in franchise history.
There you go,
I couldn't believe that stat.
There's so many stats that have come out.
Yeah, every week.
Hard to keep track of all the
team records.
I could save at least 40 different graphics every week from some of this. Like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are the first running back duo in NFL history to do. Was it 10 games scoring a touchdown together in the same game?
They've got several of those.
So many.
First running back duo for this. First running back duo for that.
And they said that some of the feats they're doing is comparable to other running back duos that are all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Which
is crazy. I mean, it's way too early to say if Gibbs and Montgomery are Hall of Famers, but it's just wild the company that they're performing in.
Yeah, they showed some stat about Gibbs after the game, and I can't remember what the stat was, but the only two other players that did that was Barry Sanders and Billy Sims.
Oh, it was the Lions to have like 1,000 something all-purpose yards or scrimmage yards or something in a season, in their first 2 seasons or something. I forget. It's something weird like that. Yeah. But I mean, I mentioned it to Kyle. I wanted to ask you just to see if I'd get yelled at or not. But did you feel like Jahmyr Gibbs looked like Barry Sanders out there? There was a couple plays where I was like getting Barry flashbacks.
A little bit. He's not quite as shifty, but he's got the speed, and Barry had speed to go with the shiftiness.
Yeah.
So, and you sent me a thing just a little while ago about the playoff scenarios already for Detroit. And
there's a lot of playoff scenarios.
I know, but I just read the one about Detroit. I can't believe they're already talking that. Yeah, if certain things happen this week, they would clinch a playoff spot already.
It makes sense. I mean, if you look at,
I can't believe it's this soon. There's still like 5-6 games left.
I was gonna say 5-6 games because what I sent you, and I guess I'll read it now that you brought it up because I wasn't sure.
Well, you had 7 different scenarios. I just read the first one, but yeah. If we win and 3 other teams lose. We got a playoff spot?
There's like 7 different scenarios, and it goes like on the long list. I'll just read the first. The first scenario would be a Detroit win plus a San Francisco loss or tie,
which they could lose,
and an Arizona loss and a Seattle loss or tie, and a Tampa Bay loss. So I mean, it's possible. I mean, and the list goes down. I'm not going to bore everybody with that.
I just
but
didn't think
this is the interesting note from another post I found, and I don't think you've seen this. Even though I sent this particular one to you, Detroit would be the first NFL team to clinch a non-division title playoff berth with 5 weeks to play since both Minnesota and Denver did it back in 1998. There are a couple other teams I think they said to have playoff clinching scenarios this week, that being the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. So 3 teams have chances to do that this week. The other note is if Buffalo and Kansas City and or Detroit clinch playoff spots this week, it will be the earliest clinching with 5 weeks to go that all 3 teams are for all 3 teams in franchise history. So that's insane. And then if 2 of the 3 teams above clinch, it will be the first time that 2 teams have clinched with 5 weeks to play since that aforementioned Minnesota-Denver season in 1998. And we have never had 3 teams clinch as early as 5 weeks to play before the end of season. So just very interesting stuff. Yeah, like this is that time of year now where you're going to start seeing the scenarios popping up. I mean, wouldn't it be something if Detroit just had a playoff spot? Like, while the bigger fish to fry is the clinching the division, getting that number 1 seed. But just I think there's a part of you knowing that you're in the dance.
I don't know. I don't think they should clinch this early. They've got to stay hungry. You get something like that, and that's what I'm saying, might be a little complacent.
They're set on their goal is the division.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dan Campbell will let them get complacent.
No.
But
you tell me that not a part of you, either as a fan or if you were like part of that Lions organization, in the back of your head going, all right, that's step 1. We have the playoff spot no matter what.
Yeah.
So like even if something catastrophic happens and they have to maybe strategize on like, okay, we need to sit a few guys for a few weeks because the goal is to win the division and win, get number 1 seed and win a Super, NFC champ, all that. Would you at least consider, all right, we're in the dance, we're a good enough team. It doesn't matter what seed we are. Like, let's just go,
No, it does not, because you got 2 teams that are 1 game behind them.
Yeah, that's true.
You got the
Vikings and Eagles.
They're 1 game behind Detroit. Any little stumble by Detroit is going to screw everything up. So no. We don't need to be clinching anytime soon. We need to just keep on winning and let the chips roll.
I mean, they can still clinch. You just don't really acknowledge it. Like, hey, whatever. That's not what we're here to do. Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay.
All right. The Tennessee Titans defeated the Houston Texans 32-27. That was a bit of a shocker. Yeah, I was looking at the scoreboard and I was like, dang, are you serious? The Titans actually did it? Well, good for them. And boy, that sends a bunch of red flags up in Texans Nation, I think, because they thought they were going to, just run through the AFC. And
yeah.
I mean, while they still technically lead their division, it's still a little worrisome that the Texans have lost 4 out of their last 5. Just absolutely crazy. The Miami Dolphins are getting hot as they beat the Patriots 34-15. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the New York Giants 30-7, and this was a game after the Giants released quarterback Daniel Jones, the 6th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. All that drama that happened so quickly prior to this game is just utterly fascinating.
Yeah,
like the fact that he was relegated to the 4th spot on the depth chart, and then they put him on the, what do they call it, on the, not the practice squad, but the scout team. So I saw somebody say he was playing safety on the scout team. Like, just something ridiculous like that. And then the other wrinkle to that is how they bypassed the second string quarterback, Drew Lock, who they signed to like a $5 million contract over the offseason, and just bypass him for Tommy Cutlets, that Tommy DeVito. Like, why? What's the point of that other than like, oh, it's a good story, everybody likes Tommy DeVito? And then what did Baker do? Baker just, I don't know, made fun of his little celebration there during the shellacking that they took from the Buccaneers.
I don't know, the Giants. Maybe you should do another poll this week.
Was just are
the Giants one of those? Are they a worse dumpster?
I think the city of New York is the dumpster fire capital of the National Football League.
That are both burning.
You can't even say New York. Both these teams are in New Jersey, so. Well, I guess we'll have to leave New York out of it. These 2 New Jersey teams. But then we also have a story here where Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield has donated $17,900 to a Texas high school football team that needed equipment to play their games. They just went on to win a state championship.
Good for him.
Good for Baker. I like Baker.
Yeah.
When he first came out of college, he was kind of like that guy. Like, I don't know about Baker. He's got a little too much attitude. Is he really going to make it in the NFL? And then, he kind of helped turn the Browns around, even with his. But then he had the fun commercials and it was kind of enduring. But then he got kicked to the curb by Cleveland.
Yeah, he got a raw deal out of Cleveland.
And once that happened, we're all just like, man, I feel bad for Baker. And and then I think that also helped him kind of rediscover himself. He jumped around to the Rams and then to the
Panthers.
The Panthers, then the Rams, and then he ended up in Tampa.
Yep.
And ever since he's been in Tampa, I like Baker a lot.
Yeah,
I like Baker Mayfield a lot.
Except when we play him.
But Baker is all right in our book. If you want to come on the show, Baker, you're more than welcome. We can make room and time for you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's see here. The Dallas Cowboys finally got a win against the Washington Commanders, 34-26. What a wild finish to this game. They said like 40 points were scored in the fourth quarter, something gnarly like that.
I was so rooting for Washington.
I mean, I was rooting for Washington too. I saw they were down, and then my buddy texted me because I had Jaden Daniels as my fantasy quarterback. And I know, roll your eyes all you want. But I was sitting there, and he's like, dude, 86-yard touchdown. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, your quarterback. And then finally the Yahoo alert came in that said I got a 86-yard touchdown pass. I was like, oh, sweet. And I found out that was to tie the game. Well, little did I know that then they missed the extra point, so they're down by 1. So they had to go onside kick it. And then Dallas returned that for a touchdown.
Yep.
Just absolutely wild. And then now the Commanders have lost 3 straight games. Is it time to tell Mike Barksdale that he might have been a jinx, and now that he's like fully in on the Commanders, they've lost 3 straight?
No. That is Mike's team. He loves his Commanders.
As long as he keeps rolling with them, I don't want to see him abandon ship now that they're on a 3-game losing streak. I don't think he will, but I just think it's funny that like he declared like about 3 weeks ago, and then they haven't won since. Poor Mike.
Well, yeah, that's just unfortunate.
All right.
He's no jinx.
All right. Future Rookie of the Year quarterback Bo Nix led the Broncos to a 29-19 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. Bo Nix just playing out of his mind lately. That Denver Broncos team starting to look sneaky good. They could do some damage if they make it into the playoffs. But for the Raiders, though, they lost quarterback Gardner Minshew to a broken collarbone during this game. Should be out for the rest of the season, I saw. Like, that's just, you hate to see it. Gardner Minshew is another one of those personalities that's just fun to kind of watch. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback.
People like to root for him, regardless of whether he's any good or not.
Yeah, so, I mean, but hey, for the Broncos, good for them. Keep an eye out for them. I didn't think they'd even sniff 5 wins this year. And here they are. They got 7 wins, and they're definitely in the playoff hunt. And if it weren't for that crazy loss to Kansas City, they'd be like 8 wins. They'd be right behind Kansas City right now for the lead in that division.
No.
That's wild to me. All right. Also wild to me, and the San Francisco 49ers fall into the Green Bay Packers 38-10. The Niners obviously without their star lineman Nick Bosa. Then starting quarterback Brock Purdy was out. And they just didn't look like the same team.
Yeah.
They have not looked like the same team with all these injuries. They're 5-6 right now. That NFC West is a dogfight. We're going to talk about that division here in a second. Just an absolute just murderer's row of teams that just are beating up on each other, and they're all just kind of a game apart. It's absolutely wild. But for the Packers, they get a big home win, and they keep themselves in the NFC North discussion, just to staying a couple games back at Detroit, a game behind Minnesota. So that NFC North's not even a guarantee right now. It's two divisions that just tight in different ways.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals blew a game to the Seahawks because I definitely thought the Cardinals should have gotten this one, but they came out of the bye week stale, and they fell to the Seahawks 16-6. So now the Seahawks leap over the Cardinals for the division lead in that NFC West. Like I said, it's just a tight race out there. And then on Sunday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles pretty much made a statement of the victory over the Rams 37-20 to say that they might be the best team in football. Not so fast, my friend. I think the Lions have something to say about that. But Saquon Barkley is making his case for probably being the league MVP.
Well, he's got something to prove to the Giants. The Giants are tanking, and he's leading his team.
What do you have, 255 rushing yards, like something crazy like that? And then he gave away the ball after one of his scores, and he asked like one of the guys on the sideline, like, "Hey, where's that ball at?" And the guy's like, "You gave it away." And he's like, "Oh, man." So just absolutely wild. Saquon Barkley is just on another planet. It's just incredible what the Eagles have kind of done. Remember one week we were talking about firing Sirianni, they're a dumpster fire, and then here they are. They might be the best team in the league. We don't know. And then on Monday night we had the Har Bowl, or the Harbaugh Bowl, whatever you want to call it, where big brother John got the best of little brother Jim again for the third time in their careers as NFL coaches, 30-23. I watched a little bit of this. I thought the Chargers, I think when I was watching, the Chargers seemed like they were kind of in control, but eventually Derrick Henry got going and got in the end zone. But, I mean, did you watch any of that last night?
I saw some of it towards the end of the game. I kept going back and forth with it, and I was watching some other stuff. But, yeah, early on, I think the Chargers had control of the game, and then it kind of slipped away, and they tried to catch up at the end, couldn't do it.
Yeah, and the Chargers wearing probably my favorite of their uniforms. I like that.
Oh, the black,
that darker,
the real dark blue, navy blue.
I just like that dark blue, that look that they got. It kind of reminds me of like the '90s version of the Chargers, but
the logo looked good on the field, but I don't know.
I don't know. I just like the lightning bolts on that uniform, just pops. But and it actually sounded like Chargers fans showed up to this game, which is weird for them because it always sounds like, it's the other team that takes over their stadium when the Chargers play. And then we had 6 teams on bye this week: the Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jags, Saints, and Jets. And then the only thing I want to mention before we move on, because I think we hit all of our news stories
I think
there. So. Somebody is saying that the Raiders might have interest in Danny, what's his name? Daniel Jones.
Oh, Daniel Jones.
Giants. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. And Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things and apparently denying any medical scans so that he doesn't get benched there in New York. What a circus out there in the Meadowlands for both those franchises. So.
Yep.
All right.
We talked a little bit about that poll that we put up. Did you ever see the final numbers on that?
Results? I mean, I guess I could quickly look that up.
I looked at it. It was already done. Which one of the two did people say was the biggest under fire? Were the Jets or the Cowboys?
Well, that's a good question. Let me look right now because if I remember correctly, the last I checked, it was I want to say that people were voting for the Jets as the bigger dumpster fire.
Last time I looked at it, but that was a couple of days before the poll ended.
Right, and I think it ended yesterday. So, we got 2 hours and 7 minutes left, everybody, if you haven't gone to vote yet. It's currently at Jets, 71%, Cowboys, 29%.
Wow.
Yep, so. And I love the comment from Royce. I just love that both teams are floundering miserably.
That's absolutely true.
Yes.
Absolutely true.
Very, very. I mean, we could throw up every week, like, who are the two miserable franchises or which is the.
I don't know.
But that's it for the NFL.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to move along, and we're going to talk some collegiate football, something you love. Let's talk about chaos.
Yep. You couldn't even read. I got to change the script for a change. You didn't even read it the way I had it in there. Now we had to talk about the collegiate chaos that was in Week 13 in college football. There. See, it's easy as that, Randy. Come on now. Collegiate chaos.
Yes, collegiate chaos. Week 13, and we're going to start with the top 12 teams according to the college football rankings from November 12th. The number one team in the land, Oregon, 11-0, was on a bye, so they stayed undefeated. Number 2, Ohio State over number 5, Indiana, 38-15. That was the first loss of the year for Indiana.
Did you watch any of that?
I saw some of that, and when I saw that Indiana just didn't have it that day, I kind of went on about my business.
I was watching it at work. I work with an Ohio State guy, and he was listening to the game on the on his radio or on his phone. I was watching the game on my phone, and when the Indiana went up 7-0 to start the game, I was obviously being as big a jerk as I could, shouting at him, saying "suck it" and all that. And then at one point, he comes walking over to watch the game on my phone, and is just standing there helping me do my job, but he's mainly just watching my phone. And obviously, Ohio State starts pulling away. Indiana's offense just looked anemic after that first drive. And you could clearly see why Ohio State is the second best, if not the best, team in the country. Yeah. But Indiana, fear not. I mean, you lost to the number 2 ranked team in the country. Yep. You'll probably get knocked down a few spots when the rankings come out tonight, and we won't even give the rankings any mention until the final rankings are up. That's the ones that matter. Right. But Indiana, we'll see what happens to them. I think that's about as good a loss as you can get. You lost by 23 points, though. But it's going to be tough. The eye test, people will say Indiana was just not in the same league as Ohio State, and that I won't say that'll keep them out of the playoff. But, man, it'd be interesting to see what they do with Indiana now and what Indiana does the rest of the season. I haven't talked to Nathan yet about being there at that game and all that. I kind of felt bad once they got clobbered. I was like, oh, I don't want to bug him about it. But, I mean, it's still 11. It's still their best season in memory. Sure, so, I mean, what do you expect? They're the number 2 team in the country. It would have been nice to pull the upset, but, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, number 3, Texas over Kentucky, 31-14. Number 4, Penn State over Minnesota, 26-25, in a real squeaker. Number 6, Notre Dame over number 19, Army, 49-14. That's the first loss of the season for Army.
And how about Notre Dame just kind of quietly climbing the ranks this year? I feel like we haven't. I mean, they lost that big game against NIU or Northern Illinois, and then I think they've just quietly kind of been building a decent resume to where they're a top team in the country, maybe top 3 team.
Yeah, I was really rooting for Army in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they'd play a little bit better. I didn't think they would win the game, but I thought they would play a little bit better than they did, but they didn't. And there were a lot of things during the broadcast. I was, like I said, back and forth on this game, watching some of the broadcasts. They talked a lot about the rivalry between Army and Notre Dame, and they talked about the Four Horsemen and Newt Rockne and the whole history between these two teams.
I get that YouTube thing every week saying, like, what was our most searched stuff, and the Four Horsemen stuff kept getting searched.
Oh.
So that's kind of been your hot video, your old history lesson you did, just so you know.
That's been a couple of years ago I did that.
I know, and it's still getting hits. Huh. It was like our top video this last week.
Wow. Let's see. Number 7, Oklahoma over Alabama, 24-3.
Woof.
Number 8, Miami of Florida over Wake Forest, 42-14. Florida upset number 9, Ole Miss, 24-17. Number 10, Georgia over Massachusetts, 59-21. Number 11, Tennessee shut out UTEP, 56-0. Oh my gosh! And number 12, Boise State over Wyoming, 17-13. Moving on to some other scores. Number 21, Arizona State upset number 14, BYU. I didn't even put the score down on that one. Oh,
no,
well.
You didn't. But now that clears the path for Arizona State to possibly win their conference and maybe even sneak in to the college football playoff. If Arizona State can win out and keep playing as good as they've been lately, they could be a team to watch out for.
Auburn upset number 15 Texas A&M 43-41 in 4 overtimes.
Ooh.
Kansas upset number 16 Colorado 37-21.
And there goes their playoff hopes.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of this game. I don't even know if it was on around here, but I always like to check out Colorado to see what Shedeur Sanders and his dad are up to.
I'm not on the Shedeur train.
No.
I definitely think he's overrated. I am more interested in that Travis Hunter. Heisman lead candidate right now. He's a player I'm very, very curious about.
Okay.
I like everything I've seen of him on the field, and I mean, I'll give Deion credit. He's a pretty dang good coach, and I don't think he's going to jump to the NFL like a lot of people think.
No, he's already said he wouldn't.
I actually believe him when he says he feels like his calling is helping young men like this and not, like an NFL team. But hey, we've heard people say that before. Then they jump to the NFL. But if Deion Sanders actually follows through and does not go to the NFL this year, I think I would respect him a lot more and probably even say he's one of the best, if not one of my favorite college coaches out there. Just for sticking with if recognizing your calling,
right,
and then not getting greedy, because he's got all the money in the world now. He's already getting the TV deals. He's got a talk show apparently, which is going to be airing on Tubi or whatever. Yeah. But he's all over the place. It doesn't get much better if you're Deion, and you get to supposedly do what you love, which is coaching up young men into adulthood. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, continuing with our scores, it was number 17 Clemson over the Citadel, 51-14. Number 18 South Carolina over an FCS school, Wofford, 56-12. South Florida over Tulsa, 63-30. Texas Tech over Oklahoma State, 56-48. Georgia State over Texas State, 52-44. Louisiana over Troy, 51-30. Michigan over Northwestern, 50-6. The University of Texas at San Antonio, the Roadrunners, over Temple, 51-27. It was Akron over poor little Kent State, who is now 0-11 on the season, 38-17. And USC over UCLA, 19-13, in what we talk about every year is the most gorgeous-looking game on the calendar, because when they play each other at the Rose Bowl, they both wear their home uniforms. So you've got the red team against the
powder
blue and gold. It's such a gorgeous look.
It's great.
I love it. I don't care what the records are. I just want to watch that game with those uniforms.
There needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, especially if your teams have such contrasting colors and your rivals. What's stopping from Michigan and Michigan State wearing both their colors, their traditional colors at least?
Yeah.
Why are we letting Ohio State and Michigan get away with not both wearing those classic home uniforms against each other every year?
Yeah.
Why? Even in the NFL, I feel like we should allow that a lot more. They've done it a couple times where I feel like teams have gotten to wear their home jerseys just for special games, but I feel like it should be opened a lot more, because unless teams have too similar of colors, then you need to wear your white uniform. But because the Lions and Cowboys should never wear their blues against each other.
Right, yeah.
But, there's just so many things you could do, and it would look so great to have two of those colors just going out there.
Yeah. So, maybe if everybody was doing it, it wouldn't make the USC-UCLA game that much special.
Maybe not, but you could still point to that one and go, that's the one that started it all.
It is
every year. I love
it. Yep.
It's great.
Absolutely. Moving on to the military academies, Navy was on a bye this week, and Air Force defeated Nevada 22-19. That means that there is only one FBS school left undefeated, and that is the 11-0 Oregon Ducks, who were on a bye this week.
That's so crazy to think about, because in years past, it's been you get to the end of the year and there's several different conferences with undefeated teams,
right? And
you get 3 of the 4 teams going into the college football playoff
undefeated,
and now it's absolute. Say it with me now, Randy. Absolute chaos. Yes, sir. That is so true, and this is good for college football. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But the thing I loathe right now is just all the discussion that's going around, what 12 teams should be in and all that. We still got a few weeks for it to all play out. This is why I feel like this playoff bracket is a step in the right direction. I think it's still lacking. You need more structure and more certainty. The NFL divisions, it's, hey, you win your division, you get your guaranteed spot, and blah, blah, blah. There's no subjectivity to it. It's absolute concrete,
Yeah, this is still as bad as the 4 team, where it was just a glorified.
I would say it's just as bad.
Well, it was a glorified invitational, because they could pick any 4 teams they wanted to be in the 4-team playoff. And now, you've got 5 teams that are going to get automatic bids, but then the other 7, they can pick whoever they want in any order, put them against whoever. No, it should be more structured, like you said, where here's your conference winners. Everybody gets in that wins their conference. But no, they don't want that, because why? Money.
Well,
they want to have the best matchups that's going to bring the greatest amount of viewers, which means more money for them.
And they'll pay some sort of analyst or some sort of numbers nerd guru to explain why 3-loss Alabama deserves to be in the playoff over
because they're Alabama.
A 1-loss Indiana or something like that. Oh, well, Indiana lost to the second best.
People want to see Alabama. Nobody wants to see the Citadel. Everybody wants to see Alabama. Whether you're rooting for them to win or you're rooting for them to lose.
I'm going to stop you right there. You know who wants to see the Citadel? All those SEC teams that put them on their schedule to get a nice, easy cakewalk, before a big game. That's who likes to see the Citadel. Yeah. But I will now yield my time to you to finish these scores.
All right, let's move on to the FCS scores. Southern Utah over Utah Tech, 37-34 in double overtime. And then we had a couple of really big rivalry games. This was, in fact, this one here is the oldest played rivalry in all of college football. It was the 160th playing of the Lehigh versus Lafayette game, and it was the Lehigh Mountain Hawks over the Lafayette Leopards, 38-14. Lafayette now leads the all-time series, 83-72, with 5 ties. Lehigh and Holy Cross now share the Patriot League title this year. And that's one that doesn't get a lot of attention. You always talk about your Army, Navy, Michigan, Ohio State. What's the other one there?
Probably like Alabama, Georgia.
Well, true, but what is the other one? Harvard, Yale.
Oh, Harvard, Yale.
Yeah.
Which you're going to talk about here in a second.
Yeah. So, I mean, 160th playing. I remember 10 years ago they had the 150th game. They came up with a special logo for this game. It was actually played at Yankee Stadium, and so after that it kind of went away. People don't really hear about it much. But yeah, to me that's a really big deal. 160th playing of Lehigh versus Lafayette. Now, in the early days, I think they played each other twice a year. That's why it's got so many plays over the years, but still. And then the other game, like you said, in the Ivy League, it was the 140th playing of the Harvard-Yale game, and I did not even see this at all. Normally, I
usually at
least want to watch the game. I did not even see it this year, but it was Yale over Harvard, 34-29. Harvard improves to 8-2, or falls to 8-2, I guess, and gets a share of the 2024 Ivy League title, sharing it with Dartmouth and Columbia. Columbia has been the doormat of the Ivy League for years. They would go undefeated every season almost. They had a terrible football team, so it's good to see Columbia share the title this year with Harvard and Dartmouth. Yale finishes the season with a 7-3 record, and they lead the all-time series with Harvard, 71 wins, 61 losses, and 8 ties. And so this was the end of the regular season this week at the FCS level. Their playoffs will begin next week, so we'll have some playoff scores next week in the FCS. Moving on to Division II. This was the first round of the playoffs at the Division II level. In fact, I've got all the scores from the playoffs this week. It was Slippery Rock over New Haven, 14-7. Grand Valley State over the University of Indianapolis, 24-7. It was Harding over Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas. I love their mascot, 48-3. Central Oklahoma over, I'm not familiar with this one, Ouachita State, Ouachita State. I'm going to say Ouachita State, but by the score of 38-31. It was Ashland over Charleston, West Virginia, 40-38 in a close game. California of Pennsylvania over East Stroudsburg, 30-27. And there were 2 teams on bye in the playoffs, and that would be Ferris State and Kutztown. So they'll have games next week. I think the matchups are already set, but we'll talk more about that next week. And moving on to the Division III playoffs, which also began this week. This was round 1. Maryville of Tennessee over Berry, 20-17. Endicott shut out Alfred State, 44-0. John Carroll over Mount St. Joseph, 52-7. It was Kings of Pennsylvania over Ursinus, 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 32-29. Bethel of Minnesota over Coe, 31-26. Mary Hardin Baylor over Trinity of Texas, 29-22. Wisconsin Lacrosse over Northwestern St. Paul, 59-14. And Whitworth over Pomona Pitzer, 21-17. to 13. Some of these teams I've never even heard of. I mean, we talk Division III playoffs all the time, so a lot of these, like Pomona, Pitzer, I haven't really talked about them. Northwestern of St. Paul, COE, Ursinus, Mount St. Joseph. These are teams I don't know if I've ever read a score from them before, but good for them for making the playoffs, even though they basically all lost. Let's see. NAIA playoff scores. First round of the playoffs at the NAIA level. Dickinson State over North Dakota. Dickinson State of North Dakota over Kansas Wesleyan 27-20. Friends of Kansas over Utah University of Arizona 47-35. And Pikeville of Kentucky over Baker 42-35. And then finally, at the junior college level, this is still the regular season. I think that they're not their playoffs. Well, they don't really have playoffs. They have bowl games that they go to. So, but I think this was some of the last few games of the regular season there at the junior college level. Coffeyville over Butler of Kansas 15-14 and a real squeaker. The College of DuPage shut out Community Christian College from Michigan 63-0. And it was Navarro over Tyler Junior College 31-28. And that's it for the college scores. Whew.
Man.
A lot of them this week. All right, and now it's time to check in with our friend Greg at Gridiron Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
Hey, from the Gridiron Japan newsroom, this is Greg St. James with your X-League Super quarterfinal scores. We had the Fujitsu Frontiers were 49-14 winners over IBM Big Blue. The Sexy Sui Challengers were 21-0 winners over the Tokyo Gas Creators. The Panasonic Impulse were 24-0 winners over the Elecom Fineys. And lastly, we had the Obik Seagulls were 20-14 winners over the Nojima Rise. And after that game with Obik, we had Obik's starting quarterback, Tyler Kolka, on our podcast in our live stream to talk about the game and talk about his life in Japan. Tyler is a Michigan product, and he did you guys proud. Obik played a great game, and hopefully we will see Obik in the Rice Bowl coming up here in January. Definitely here rooting for the Obik Seagulls here at Gridiron Japan, because we really don't want to see another Panasonic Impulse Fujitsu Frontiers Rice Bowl matchup. If we do this year, that will be 4 years straight of that final game for the Rice Bowl. All right, hey, listen, Randy, Adam, thank you very much for letting me this season chime in with the scores over here in Japan. And for the rest of you, thank you very much for listening. And if you want to know more about the Gridiron game in Japan, feel free to go to gridironjapan.jp. You can watch our live streams at gridironjapantv.net. You can also find us at gridironjapanradio.net and just type, or if you want to, just type in Gridiron Japan in any search engine. All our social media and all our links will pop right up. All right, with that said, I have reached the 2-minute mark here. All right, guys, I'm done. Go Lions. Go Cardinals. Bye-bye.
As always, thank you, Greg, for getting up early in the morning, which I guess for you is late at night when you send me these things, because it's early in the morning when they arrive, and you're just going to bed, and I'm just getting up. So, but we appreciate it. Thank you. All right, now we're going to head back to the United States once again for some more happenings in the world of football, and we're going to start with the UFL this week. They are planning to expand in 2027. All of the current teams are basically in the eastern part of the country, from Texas east.
Right.
And but I was just going to ask you, where do you think they should expand to? Now, there's a lot of teams that they've had between the USFL and the XFL over the last few years before they merged and became the UFL that they could go back to.
Right.
You had the Pittsburgh
Maulers,
yep, and the Philadelphia
Stars,
and you had the Orlando
Predators. Oh wait, that's Orlando Guardians, or the Orlando Rage if you want to go way back to the original XFL.
Yeah. So those are all teams in the East that they could go back to. But if they wanted to expand out west, I'm thinking maybe Salt Lake City, maybe Phoenix. They had that one team in the All-America Football League.
I think right now the team that a lot of people are thinking had probably one of the best fan bases was Seattle. They really embrace having a team out there. So that'd probably be a spot, go back up north, but then you'd have to find somebody that's a little more regional, probably to stick with. That's the tough part there.
I was thinking San Diego because that's like St. Louis is a former NFL town, but I don't even think they have a stadium there anymore. I think their old stadium got torn down.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't know about that, but it's just there's a lot of teams that they've had over the last few years in those two separate leagues that they could reach back to. They know the facility where they played, and were the fans good? Were they not? Would they support it again? Who knows?
Right. It's a very good question, and I'm excited that they're looking into expansion.
Yep.
Glad that they didn't rush it. They were going to wait one more year to, kind of add a couple teams, add 4 teams. I don't know what the full plan is.
They didn't say how many. They're just looking at they're looking at different cities to see who would be who wants to have a team, what can they offer the league, and this and that. So I don't know if they would add 2 or 4 or whatever.
Right.
I wouldn't do more than 4 myself.
And do you give them brand new names? Do you kind of bring back or do you try to do a USFL city and an XFL city and then try to revive? Do you trying to look at some of the old do you
Las
go back
Vegas
to
Outlaws?
I was gonna say, do you go back to Vegas for the Outlaws? Do you go to a Chicago where their current NFL team stinks, so you bring back the Chicago Enforcers? Do you go
or the Chicago Blitz?
I mean, they already got the Birmingham Stallions, so you can't bring back the Bolts.
I think that they're going to stay away from NFL cities, so I'm thinking, that's why I came up with San Diego or maybe, like I said, Philadelphia and Pennsylvania.
What about bringing back the Memphis? Oh, they got the Memphis Showboats. Never mind, you can't bring back the Memphis Maniacs. I'm looking at all these old XFL teams. The New York Guardians. Played in MetLife. Those 2 teams stink out there. Why don't you give them a winner and give them back the Guardians?
I think they'll probably, first of all, be looking at more teams in the East. Maybe Louisville, Kentucky for a team. Or
I don't know about that.
Or Columbus. I
mean, to me, you're probably looking at I think Seattle's probably if I was to bet, Seattle's probably the best one. But then again, the travel, but maybe that won't be an issue. Who knows?
Right.
I'm just trying to think, where else would you put a team? I'm trying to think of other markets that would be NFL-ish or NFL adjacent, and I just, at the top of my head, I can't think of any. I mean,
Jacksonville, Tampa.
They got NFL teams. Why would you?
Atlanta.
A lot of these. Why would you put a second team there?
They would be in the off season. They wouldn't be technically competing.
That's fair, but I mean, I don't know what of those fan bases would actually welcome a second team or a spring team in that league. I mean, even here in Michigan, as much as we like our Michigan Panthers, and they play at Ford Field where our Lions play, it's not like they're getting crowds and crowds of people.
No, we've been to see them a couple of times, but not everybody is into that.
Right.
But, maybe with the Jake Bates having come from there.
Maybe, but I think you need a city like a St. Louis that's going to just rally around. No, that's going to be hard to come by.
Right.
A city that's going to rally around a spring team, or how Birmingham kind of rallies around the Stallions right now. That's hard to come by.
Maybe a Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Maybe another. Is there another place in Texas you could go? You already got essentially Dallas and Houston,
right,
and San Antonio. So you got your 3 big ones right there. Is there another market in there somewhere? Houston, they got the Roughnecks.
That's right.
And they got the Brahmas. So where else would you go up to? Oklahoma? Would you go up some of those college hungry cities that don't have a professional team?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of. I think there's some places they could go, but I would right now. I'd put money on a Seattle type team.
Right.
So
okay. A couple of stories out of the CFL this week. Been a lot of talk of this leading up to this week. I guess today the BC Lions quarterback Vernon Adams, they announced that they are trading him to the Calgary Stampeders. I think they're getting 3 draft picks for him. They're getting a second and a fourth this year.
Yep. So the Stampeders the British Columbia Lions are sending Vernon Adams and a 2025 round 4 pick, the 32nd overall, and a 2026 third round pick to be determined. And then the Lions will receive from Calgary a 2025 second round pick, 9th overall, 2025 fourth round pick, 29th overall, and a 2026 round 2 pick to be determined. So they swap some picks.
Yep.
And Vernon Adams is now a Calgary Stampeder.
Yeah, that was one of the first places that he got mentioned. I mean, I think I saw an article that said 4 possible places he could go.
There's only 9 teams.
But Calgary was one of the ones that was predominantly mentioned right off the bat.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like Jake Mayer.
Yeah, I do
to
too.
me, that just adds fuel to the fire. I think there's more wrong with that team than your quarterback, because I think both quarterbacks they already had there. Was it the backup had some good runs, Stevenson or something like that, if I remember.
Not Strevler.
Not Strevler. Whoever they had as their backup.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but anyway, so I don't know. Calgary, maybe that's a good landing spot for him. I don't know, but to me, that also just shows that British Columbia is just willing to go all in on the Nathan Rourke.
Right.
As he's the starter, he's the guy. There's going to be no controversy.
Right.
He's going to have a whole off season to get reacclimated to the CFL game, and
Right.
it'll be his team.
Right.
And
I like that. I like Nathan Rourke. I wish him a lot of luck in the CFL.
And I know Vernon Adams has been around with several CFL teams.
Yep.
I know some people. I won't say they don't have a glowing reputation for him, but I mean, from what I've seen, he's still can ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's just got to clean up mistakes. So maybe he could be a jolt for Calgary, who was the worst team in the CFL last year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, everybody could use a fresh start. Sometimes you need more than one fresh start. Maybe this could be Vernon Adams' fresh start.
Yep. Well, good luck to everybody, wherever they end up this year. The other story I got out of the CFL was the female streaker at the 111th Grey Cup, which
Randy videotaped,
which we got to see in person, has been fined $10,000 and been permanently banned from BC Place.
So what's the point? It wasn't like she was protesting anything.
No.
There was no save the fur. There was no climate change. It wasn't save the rec center. It was just, I'm going to run out on this field.
I'm sure alcohol was involved.
Maybe not, but I don't know. It's just, you're going to run out there and $10,000 later, like. Then again, hold on. If you think about it, that's 10,000 Canadian. So really, she's only paying about $3 American.
That's cruel. But no, we
until they change their monopoly money.
We talked about this the other day that they just let her do her thing out on the field, and I saw a video. So if you really want to see this, I mean, it's from a distance, so you really can't see anything. But
you can find the video where you see everything.
Well, I didn't find it when I looked.
Not for lack of trying, I'm sure.
but yeah, there was one from somebody in the crowd, and it might have even been a TikTok, which I don't care for TikTok, but. It was very clear, she's doing her thing, and then she's just kind of jogging towards the end zone, and then a couple of security people just kind of lazily walk out into the end zone, and they walk up to her, and ask her, please let's put your coat on that you're carrying around, and they just kind of walked her out like they were going to go have a spot of tea or something.
So what I need now is, so you take that $10,000 fine, and you take that video, and you have somebody with a graphic on there calculating how much money she is, being fined as she's walking out, like that 20-second jaunt or however long you want to say, just spread out like, every few seconds there's $100. We're into $1,000. She got here. She fell down on the ground. She's already at $8,000.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever hear from her again. Some people will become celebrities from something like this. I don't know. If
you couldn't even remember her name.
It was Nadia something. I saw that in a headline from an article in the Canadian paper, and then when I opened up the article itself, her name was not in there.
Canada still would have newspapers. Come on, Canada, what are you doing?
Hey, our hotel offered a free newspaper down the front desk.
Of course they did, and you didn't take it.
I didn't take advantage of it.
I'm shocked by this, actually.
I should have got the one after the game and saved all the articles.
See, guys,
I blew it.
You blew it. Yes, you did.
All right. Let's move on to today's birthdays and anniversaries. For November 26th, Coach Art Shell turns 78 today. He played college football at Maryland Eastern Shore, was selected in the third round of the 1968 NFL Draft by the Oakland Raiders. He played tackle for the Raiders for 15 seasons from 68 to 92.
Did you say Shell or Shore? Because it sounded like you said Shore.
Shell.
Art Shell. Yep.
Art Shell.
Okay, just making sure.
Let's see. He won 2 Super Bowls as a player with the Raiders in 76 and 1980. He was the team's head coach from 89 to 94 and again in 2006. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a player in 1989. Another birthday today, kicker Jan Stenerud turns 82 years old. He played his college football at Montana State. He was selected in the third round of the 1966 Red Shirt Draft. That's the draft after the draft. And he was selected by the Kansas City Chiefs. He played 19 NFL seasons. He was with the Chiefs from 67 to 79. He was with the Packers from 80 to 83 and the Vikings from 84 to 85. He won Super Bowl IV as a member of the Chiefs, and he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1991. Another birthday, defensive tackle Mean Joe Green turns 78 today. Played his college football at North Texas. Was the 4th overall pick in the 1969 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played his entire 13-year career with the Steelers from 1969 to 1981, winning 4 Super Bowls with the team in the 1970s. And he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1987, but I think he'll always be most remembered for that famous Coca-Cola commercial he did where he downed the whole Coke in one swallow almost.
Well, and then threw a jersey to a kid. Come on.
Yeah, well, whatever. And then,
that's the memorable part, Randy. Come on.
And then finally, here's our 4th Pro Football Hall of Famer that has a birthday today. Halfback Joe Guyon. Born on this date in 1892. He passed away in 1971 at the age of 79. He played for the Carlisle Indian School and at Georgia Tech. He won a national championship with Georgia Tech in 1917. He played in the NFL, the very early days of the NFL, with the Canton Bulldogs in, I guess it was 1919 and 1920 both. He was with the Washington Senators and the Cleveland Indians in 1921. He played for the Oorang Indians in 1922 and 23, along with Jim Thorpe. He was with the Rock Island Independents in 1924, the Kansas City Cowboys in 1925, and the New York Giants in 1927. He won the NFL title with the Giants in his final pro season, 1927. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1966. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1971. And you may not know this, but I visited his grave in Louisville, Kentucky last year. So a bit of a connection I have with Joe Guyon. And finally, on this date in 1998, the Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit, the Steelers running back Jerome Bettis calls tails when they're going into overtime, but the ref heard heads in the overtime coin toss. Lions would go on to win that game on a Jason Hansen field goal. And we've got a nice little video that I'm going to post in the next day or so of you and Aaron making the call on that.
I mean, it's on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, but I'm going to repost it so people can find it quickly. But yeah, that's
so
a fan favorite.
So this is a callback to earlier.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. All right, we do have 3 obituaries this week. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is Tommy Hart, a linebacker and defensive end in the NFL for 13 seasons, has passed away at the age of 80. Hart played college football at NAIA Morris Brown College and was selected in the 10th round of the 1968 NFL Draft by the San Francisco 49ers. He played for the 49ers from 68 to 77. He also played for the Chicago Bears from 78 to 79 and the New Orleans Saints in 1980.
Our next obituary is that of John Bruner, a longtime assistant coach in college and in the NFL, has passed away at the age of 87 from 1969 to 1979. Bruner was a college football assistant coach at Villanova, Temple, and Princeton. In the NFL, he was an assistant coach with the Detroit Lions from 1980 to 1982, the Green Bay Packers in 1983, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 84, and the Minnesota Vikings from 1989 to 1991. Bruner also spent time as a player scout for the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers.
And our last obituary today is that of Joe Zuger, a quarterback, defensive back, and punter in the Canadian Football League for 10 seasons, has passed away at the age of 84. Zuger played college football at Arizona State and signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 1962. He played his entire CFL career with the Ticats from 62 to 71. He won 3 Grey Cup titles with Hamilton in 1963, 1965, and 1967. He was named the CFL's most valuable player in 1967 as well. Zuger went on to be the team's general manager from 1981 to 1992. He was inducted into the Tiger Cats Wall of Honor in 2007, and he was also inducted into the Hamilton Sports Hall of Fame in 2015. All right, finally, our upcoming events. Tuesday, December 3rd, It's Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North on HBO and Max. You're looking forward to that. I'm not so much looking forward to it.
It's not like I got it marked on the calendar. It'll probably be one of those things where it'll be that day of the podcast. Like, oh, wait, that comes out tonight. And I'll forget about it probably. But I'm just interested to see what they do to juggle 4 teams.
True. It would be interesting. I don't know if I could sit through that. I've got bigger things to do on the 3rd.
Like go get the McRib that day?
The McRib comes back that day, so I will be traversing the countryside looking for a McDonald's that has it.
Supposedly, I heard somebody say that you could buy the whole jug of McRib sauce.
They're selling a jug of the sauce, which Eden said that they use. She named the brand. I don't remember what it was, but they had like a store-bought brand that they used on it, which I don't know. I didn't think it was anything special, but
I don't remember.
It's just a good sandwich. I just love the McRib. All right, let's see. Monday, December 9th, the Simpsons Football Fun Day game. Monday night football game between the Bengals and the Cowboys. It's going to be on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and NFL Plus. I was actually watching.
Is it NFL Plus? That's never in any of the ads.
Because
it's just for those
I saw
other
that
two.
somewhere.
You keep adding NFL Plus. I don't know if it's on NFL Plus or not. So
I saw a commercial today while I was watching a couple episodes of The Simpsons, and they advertised that game, what they were going to have and all that. So I don't know. Saturday, December 14th, the 125th playing of the Army-Navy game at Northwest Stadium, home of the NFL's Washington Commanders, will take place. I'm looking forward to that game. Friday and Saturday, December 20th and 21st, the 12-team college football playoffs begin.
Less than a month.
Yep. And on Monday, January 20th, it's the College Football National Championship game in Atlanta on ESPN.
Oh, God, we're already putting up dates from 2025.
Yeah.
Good Lord, Randy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to.
I guess, technically, December's.
Yeah, we're almost into December, so, Yeah.
Oh, my God, the year's almost over. We only got 4 shows left.
Yeah, for this year.
Maybe 5 shows?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's going to be crazy.
I think aren't we recording on Christmas Eve, I think?
Oh, boy, I have to look at the calendar real quick to see all the Tuesdays.
I think isn't Christmas on a Wednesday?
Christmas is on a Wednesday, so it'll be Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. That should be fun.
Yeah, it should be. But we've recorded on Christmas Day and New Year's Day before, and whatever it takes. The world of football never stops.
No, it does not.
All right. Anything else before we bring the show to a close?
As I'm looking, we'll even have a show on New Year's Eve.
Oh, really?
So Christmas and New Year's Eve
Christmas
shows,
and New Year's Eve.
if we want to do that.
Cool.
So.
Well, hopefully you're not working on Christmas Eve, so we can record it
No,
early.
I have that whole week off. You kidding me?
Good.
So.
We can record it nice and early, and then you can go do whatever you're going to do on New Year's Eve.
We'll work it out. So we got 5 shows left for the rest of the year, everybody. Be here before we know it.
Then it'll be 2025.
Goodness gracious. Where does the time go?
We were talking about how many games and events that we've gone to, football related this year. Man, this has been a big year for us. Yeah. But I've only been to 1 grave visit this entire year.
Oh, poor Randy.
And that bothers me.
It bothers you?
I've got a few that I really want to go to around.
I don't know why you're rushing to get into a cemetery, Randy.
Well, we're all going to get there eventually.
That's
so
why I'm saying
may as well
take your time.
Get a head start.
Instead of being, a person walking around looking at the headstones, and you're eventually going to be under headstones. Just take your time. We all got time. We don't have to spend all this extra time in graveyards.
There have been a couple of occasions when I was going somewhere to find the grave of some football player, and I talked to somebody at the cemetery to help me find it because I didn't know what section.
So those are the people you got to interview. Those are the more interesting people.
But more than once has somebody said, I can get you a plot right next to that guy. Or, thinking that I'm just a really big fan and I want to be buried next to my football hero or whatever. But yeah, more than once they've said, I can get you really close to him if you're looking for a cemetery plot.
Do you want the plot next to Colonel Sanders? We'll get it for you. We'll even bury you in the big bucket of chicken if you want.
Ooh, smell that fried chicken for all eternity?
There you go.
That wouldn't be bad. It would not be a bad idea. All right, well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
Follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all 3 of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. And no, we're not jumping over to Blue Sky just yet. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. Hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here talking about football. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, yeah, right, I'm Randy Snow.
And I promise I won't sue you like Baker Mayfield is suing his father's company for $12 million for an alleged breach of contract. I promise I won't sue you, Randy.
Good luck getting $12 out of this company. We'll see you all next week.